And its infrastructure woes. Yes, Bengaluru is India's tech capital, but you ask anyone working out of Bellandur or Whitefield or Outer Ring Road in the city, they'll tell you that it's a nightmare. It feels more like the traffic capital, not the IT capital of the country. And recently, the news came through that Black Buck, which is this trucking logistics startup, they shifted their office out of Bellandur. It put in the spotlight this larger urban infrastructure problem in India's Silicon Valley. So that's where we're seeing transport, or even the lack of it, affecting places where companies and talent are basing themselves. So why do most citizens still prefer their own cars and two-wheelers? One argument is that the last mile connectivity is broken. A survey actually that was conducted by the Namma Yatri app, it shows that 95% of people living in Bangalore, they say they will happily switch to public transport only if there was last mile connectivity. So now the question is, are policymakers and planners missing the point by focusing only on the buses and the metros without solving how people actually get to these modes of transport on their way to work? We have a daily commuter from Bengaluru joining us. Jenny Leon Lopez is an IT professional. She's also an environmental activist. And with her from Namma Yatri, we've got Shan MS, the app's co-founder and CEO, with us as well. Thank you both for making the time. Jenny, you put this in context for us first. Tell us how challenging it is for you as an IT professional to get to and from work in Bangalore.
Thank you, Vikram. I've lived and worked in Bangalore for 25 years now, and commuting between two ends of the city. I speak not only as an IT professional, but also as an environmental activist. I've fought for lakes, green spaces, humane living. To me, traffic is not just about congestion. It's about how this crisis, as you rightly said, is eating into our time, our families, our health, and the very soul of the city. So, the construction right now has made it worse. Metro, of course, is the future, but by the way it is executed, has created chaos today. So roads have narrowed for years, dust and debris everywhere, diversions without planning. The biggest mistake is no interim relief. Service roads could have been widened, potholes could have been fixed, covered pathways, like you said, last mile connectivity. Without that, let's say there are e-bikes, without feeder system from metros or from public transport, how would people reach? So that's why you'll find the trains and buses empty, but whereas the roads being chock-a-block with cars and personal vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these problems put together, you spoke about last mile connectivity, and here in Mumbai, now it's after many years that the official licenses have come through for a Rapido and an Uber and an Ola to run these taxi bikes. And of course, it's come after a long time. But how much that helps the last mile connectivity is going to be a question until it actually happens. Shan, your survey says that 95% of those living in the city would switch. They would switch from private transport only if last mile was solved. But isn't the real problem not just last mile, but also time and reliability of the existing modes of transport? Even if autos link people to buses or metros, if the bus is late or the metro is too crowded, where there is so much traffic, are commuters really going to shift to public transport?
Thanks, Vikram, and thanks, Jenny. And Jenny highlighted the points and the problem very succinctly and clearly. Definitely, the city has grown massively. And as a proud Bengalurean, the city has given a lot to us. And it's time for all of us to give back to the city. The city has registered the massive growth in the last decade or so. And mobility as a problem is so massive that we cannot have only one entity solve the problem. It seems like very common for everyone to blame government or the infrastructure problems, but we believe a holistic and an integrated approach is needed to solve this problem. We call this the Samaj Sarkar Bazaar way. Definitely an example being Namma Yatri, right, which has set a very strong example of how a community-led open tech solution can entirely transform the last mile connectivity as well. Go back to 2022, people were finding it hard to get auto rickshaws. The prices were exorbitantly high, very high commission, complete lack of transparency, etc. Bangalore was the first city that came together and adopted a completely open solution, an open source driven by open data, an open network called ONDC. We put that solution Auto drivers embraced the solution. It became a zero commission app, which is 100% open. And Bangalore openly adopted that. And Bangalore set the example for the entire country today to move into a zero
It
commission
helped.
model.
Shan,
Yeah.
Shan, the question is, how much has it actually helped so far? Because these traffic problems that Jenny is pointing out, and Jenny, jump in on this, it is affecting productivity in IT workplaces. Tell us about the problems that you've noticed, Jenny, among your friends, among your colleagues in your line of work. How does it affect your productivity?
Yeah. So I think just Vikram, before going
No,
there,
just
I
one
think
sec. I just need to get in that bit from Jenny. Just a moment.
Yeah. Thank you, Vikram. The biggest tragedy of Bangalore traffic crisis is not just the lost hours, Shan. Whatever you're saying, agreeing to it, but it's the way it has disrupted people's life. I lead teams, large teams, and every day, lakhs of commuters, all of us, we spend 3 to 4 hours on the road just to reach work. By the time we reach work, we're already fatigued. We're starting work fatigued. After a long day at work, we head back home after a long commute again, and by the time we get home, there's no energy left, only exhaustion. So work-life balance is destroyed, children get neglected, spouses get neglected, family bonds weaken, and this daily fatigue cycle has become a very vicious cycle. People prefer to just rest, order food from outside, shut down, visiting each other is gone, there is no cooking. This vicious cycle of commercialism and materialism with no real human connection is taking that mental health toll. The constant fatigue leads to stress, road rage, depression, even the everyday joy of living in a vibrant city is lost. The very fabric of Bangalore, which is that bond that we from the mosaic of different parts of the country living together, that's gone. The lost potential of the city, all that you said about the auto drivers way back to today, agree. But Bangalore is small in size. The ring road is barely 20, Vikram, it's 20 odd kilometers.
Yes.
And we should be able to traverse that in probably an hour. But today it takes hours with just 5 kilometers. People spend their time reading newspapers in their car. They listen to podcasts, audiobooks just to cope. But that's a survival mechanism. It's not a solution. The city's fabric is at risk.
Survival. We're talking
Yeah.
about survival, Shan, not a solution at this point in time. So how do you address these complaints? Even Nammayatri sometimes is struggling with availability of options at peak hours. That, fair pricing disputes with drivers, that's a reality. That causes this kind of rage as well. Doesn't that make the last mile solution not as reliable as commuters would like it to be?
So, Vikram, I want to shift the conversation towards solutions. We have put in a 10-point agenda as part of our Bangalore Blueprint 2030 vision. It encompasses solution from Samaj, which is community has to lead, government has to support, and businesses like whatever, right, like Namayatri or whatever mobility companies have to make this happen. And out of this, some key points I want to highlight, right? The first and foremost is private cars have to give way for public transport and shared mobility. I think we have seen enough of examples. We have studied multiple countries globally. Even cities which has even higher population density than Bangalore has gone past this problem through a very structured approach in which it's not just put on government. It has to be the community, government, and the businesses have to come together. First and foremost, public transport has to be significantly enhanced, which means more BMTC buses, maybe 3 times the number of buses, more metro, maybe 4 times the number of kilometers. And for the first mile, last mile connectivity, it needs policy intervention in a structured manner. Things like batching of people, feeder services, encouraging corporate travel in a batched mode, etc. That's another important thing as well. And most importantly, sharing the data, right? For example, when we shared the data with the IISc of Namayatri data, they are able to come up with very pointed solution using technology and AI. They're able to find out which are the choke points, which are the traffic optimizations that we can do, which can unlock the city as well. So when the city becomes open, more innovation can happen and more solutions can emerge. So the first and foremost, public transport, more batching of people is very, very crucial.
Got that.
To reduce. So more private cars coming in, I think it's also occupying the parking, right?
Right.
I think parking is another problem as well.
It's
so that's
a huge
one
problem.
big thing. Yeah, it's
Jenny, I want to say that with these efforts that are being made, governments have tried ride-sharing tie-ups with private players before. The government also saying it has made travel free for women on buses. There is all that data that apps like Nammayatri is putting together. But I want to ask you, how much of a difference is it making in your commute? Or is it still too inconvenient? Where do you think the government has failed to address the real problems that commuters face?
Well, Shan, for one, I completely agree. Mobility cannot be solved by one entity alone. Government, citizens, private sector, we must all work together. Agree on that. But Annamayatri is a brilliant example of what open, transparent, I think, zero commission solutions can achieve and all of that. But to answer you, Vikram, I don't think free bus rides will do it, right? What will it do when we do not have, once we get out of a bus, where do we go? Where is the predictability? Do we know what time the buses come? We're all commuting to work, right? We're talking about Bengaluru, Whitefield, spaces like that. Where is that connectivity? If I'm getting out of a Bannerghatta road, I need to get down at a Silk Board. Then I have to take another one from Silk Board to a Belandur. And do I know what time what comes? So I don't think all of that is still built in.
Right.
And that link has to be there. I completely agree. We're not talking about...
We're at a starting point. We have a long way to go.
We're at the infant point, the infancy.
That's right.
If a bus is late, if the metro is overcrowded, people will simply not shift to public transport. We need that predictability, the reliability, and dignity in public transport. Today, it is all garibon ka. Nobody thinks that there is some dignity. All the places that you quoted, Shan, those are neat and clean places where people have space to sit. There is no standing. Nobody pushes and grapples and molests and all of that.
Yes, safety is a major concern as well. So all of these points considered, of course, we are at a nascent stage. Yes, a lot is being done by private players, and Namayatri is one of them. But we'll have to see exactly how much of these tie-ups can actually yield positive results. Jenny, thank you for giving us that lived experience of an IT professional who just wants to get to work without losing hours in traffic. It really puts that issue in perspective. And Shan, your insights from Namayatri, it shows that technology and solutions are out there. But what's missing now is the ecosystem, better last mile, smarter integration, reliable public transport, all of that. Bengaluru clearly has the appetite to move away from private vehicles, but now the challenge is whether policy and planners and platforms can come together to make that switch possible. Thank you both for joining us with your perspectives on this. It really helps put this entire issue in perspective.